Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. For you, the ones who watch my videos regularly, probably you heard me say that there is no smoke without a fire. I use this expression whenever they say, nothing to see there, but the mere fact that that issue is mentioned draws the attention that something is there. Now, it's a small fire or it's a big fire, or it's a small fire that grows into a big fire, or a little fire that's just gonna go extinct. We have the new fire or the smoke is that the Russian Minister of Defense or the army, the US, the Russian army per se, the military, is at odds with a mercenary private company contractors, which is Wagner. Mercenary, I use it for the people who could identify what I'm talking about, because that's how it's described in the West, as a mercenary company, not a private military company. So Wagner of Prigozhin. So we are to think the little smoke that we see, and this tried to be, aired, so it fanned, so it grows, is that somehow the German, Jesus Christ, the US, not the German, where my brain is, the Russian military is having a problem with Prigozhin and his private military company, including the fact that supposedly Prigozhin is the one who wants to take Putin's place. This is how this little piece of disinformation sounds. As I say, smoke, there's a fire. Could be something like this. Now let's see, let's discuss that after I'm going to read a little article here. Remember, this article is just coming from a source that obviously will try to disperse any animosities possible animosities between the Wagner and Russian military army. So this article comes from Russia Today, and it's from January 13th, 2023. I read an article I skimmed through today where I think it was from Kiev, Independent, Kiev something. I didn't save it and I couldn't find it later. I said, it's okay, I'm just going to mention it. Where they said that there is the Wagner and the Russian military, they're fighting who to take all the glory for capturing Soledar. And supposedly that's a popularity contest between these two, military and the private, who actually were the ones who, as I said, captured Soledar and pushed the Ukrainians out. This article is about that. Russian Minister of Defense praises selfless Wagner fighters. So far the title says no, they admit that the Wagner group had a big impact on the victory. It doesn't mean that they say these guys were the ones who are responsible for the success. But hey, let's read further. And I'm quoting, "The volunteers have led the assault on the urban quarters of a strategic Donbas town," the defense ministry has said. Fighters from the private military company Wagner Group have played a major role in liberating the strategic Donbas town of Soledar, the Russian Defense Ministry declared in a Telegram post on Friday. The statement follows an announcement by the ministry that the town was now under the full control of the Russian forces. I looked over 7-8 articles from Reuters, Ukrainska Pravda, Ukrinform, New Voice of Ukraine, and others, claiming that the Ukrainians are disputing the fact that the Russians took control of the entire town of Soledar. Well, I'm pretty sure that if they did not take control of the full town, they will take in the next 33 minutes. But we'll see, right? Probably it takes some time for these guys to come out of that shock, but we'll see. Now, it says here that the statement follows an announcement by the ministry that the town was now under full control of the Russian forces, not the Russian military. Remember, that's a distinction. Because Russian forces have volunteers, mercenaries, privates, Russian military, and other auxiliary forces. Right? So that's very important when they say forces or military army. And I'm quoting, "As for the assault on the urban quarters of Soledar occupied by the Ukrainian armed forces, this combat mission was fulfilled through the courageous and selfless actions of the volunteers from the Wagner group strike teams," end quote, the ministry said. Well, were they volunteers? They're not volunteers because they were paid. You know what I mean? However you want to turn it. I mean, if you're paid, you're not a volunteer. But anyway, let it be. This is their, the terms they used. The private military company was the first to claim control over the city earlier this week. The news was confirmed by the Defense Ministry on Friday. Responding to questions from reports about who made up the troops that took part in liberating Soledar, the Defense Ministry said it was, and I'm quoting, mixed group of forces, end quote, including aviation and artillery units. Got that? Yeah, so they give the Wagner group the main role, but not the sole role. The city had a pre-conflict population of around 10,500. It is part of Russia's Donetsk People's Republic, DPR, but had been held by Ukrainian troops since 2014 when the DPR seceded from the country following a coup in Kiev. The DPR became part of Russia after holding a referendum in September. The capture of the town by Russian forces came as both sides are involved in heavy fighting over the nearby city of Artyomovsk, which is Bakhmut, which has, I think, right, after has been going on for months, an important supply hub for the Ukrainian forces. The city could open up a channel for Russian troops to enter Ukrainian cities of Slavyansk and Seversk. So, all love and happiness there. It doesn't mean that that's what it is. But hey, look at this. Let's analyze it differently. This is a private company. This is the Russian military, the Russian army. Now, private company, 15,000 people, according to the Ukrainians' estimates, which are inflated, obviously, for reason, to emphasize that, hey, there's mercenaries, look how many mercenaries. And an article that I think I covered yesterday or this morning said about 15,000 mercenaries in the Wagner group, which has not only in Ukraine, it operates in everywhere but North America and South America, according to the same article I made a video on, I think it was yesterday. Now, that's 15,000. Let's give them 20,000. And you have the Russian military, the Russian army. Who do you think wins? I think these guys, if these guys won, this guy is gone, that happens in 25 minutes. So this, I think the little fire that's over there, they try to make it bigger. I think it's gonna, like a, there you go, not for, that's what I think is gonna happen. Why? Because there's no way Prigozhin can challenge Shoigu or generals. A few generals take Prigozhin and blow him to the skies if they want. So might be a competition, popularity contest. Maybe Prigozhin feels that he's not, maybe he thinks that he's underappreciated. Maybe he needs more money. Maybe he needs all that. That's a different story. But in no way that company can challenge the Russian army. Got that cover? I don't think so. Now they can try covertly to do certain things, but remember when Stalin died, okay? What was it? 1953, I think it was. Wasn't it? I think 1953. Anyway, when he died, it was a struggle among all these fat guys in the Russian Presidium, whatever it was, the Council, Security, whatever they want to call it. So all these guys, which were, I can't remember, the mayor of Moscow, Marenko, I think, or whatever, it was Nikita Khrushchev, right? And then it was Beria, all right? And it was a fight between two factions. Now I think this guy had, I can't remember if it was Beria. I think it was Beria. It was Beria. Beria had the support of the security, that NKDV, like KGB, the secret police. Now that is one thing. And then Khrushchev was able to get the support of Zhukov, Marshal Zhukov, the one who entered Berlin. Remember? He was a tough guy. I read about him. I watched a lot of documentaries on this guy. He was as he was, but he was not only smart, he was courageous. And he was a tough guy, not he would immediately fight, no problem. So anyway, he was supporting, Zhukov supported Khrushchev. That means military supported Khrushchev. So what happened? The military got in Moscow and told the NKDV, hands down, drop your weapons, we're gonna give you up. You know what they did? Oops. Stayed, because they could not fight the military. Security, imagine that you would have FBI and CIA doing something against the US military. I mean, no, it won't. It could put a good fight, probably, for about a few days, but the military has the weapons, the big weapons, and are not tards, if you know what I mean. So the same here. You got the military, you are in charge. You don't have the military, you're not in charge. Look in Pakistan. You think that look in Brazil right now. If the military would have moved this finger for Bolsonaro after he lost the presidential elections last month, if the military would have intervened, that would have been all done again and again and again. And believe me, the military gets perks just to don't get involved. You know, like you get a big meat to just stay there and don't get involved. Let us do our weasel stuff. We don't mess with you. If they want, they take over. The same here. All right? Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.